Hey guys, tonight we're drifting into one of those towns where time doesn't walk straight and shadows linger longer than they should. You're out past the last rail post where the wind smells like old tobacco and forgotten prayers. There's a stovepipe coughing out thin gray ribbons above a crooked roof cabin and a mule thudding its hoof against a post like it's got opinions nobody asked for. You're wrapped in a blanket that smells faintly of cedar and saddle oil, and the only heat comes from a campfire crackling soft beside a tin of beans someone forgot about 3 days ago. Out here between where the nearest diner is 10 dusty miles south and the next friendly face is probably a cow, you start understanding why people out west sometimes talk to fence posts just to hear something answer. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know down in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is out there. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You place your pack down soft on the floor of the general store, its wood planks groaning like an old dog shifting in its sleep. You've never seen a town quite like this, sun-baked but sleepy warm but not welcoming. The sign above the porch simply reads, "Not quite closed," carved in a hand you don't trust. The front door creaks even before you touch it. You think it might creak just from loneliness. Nobody says your name here. Hell, nobody asked for it either. They just nod at your boots and squint into your past. That's how they greet strangers. And then you notice there's no clock. Nowhere, not behind the bar, not over the post office, not even in the little chapel sitting lopsided at the edge of town. Time in this town feels optional. Folks eat when they're hungry and sleep when the wind turns blue. You ask someone, a boy chewing sage leaves for no good reason, where you could buy a pocket watch. Only one sells them, he says, but she ain't got many buyers. Who? He doesn't answer, just gestures with his chin toward a low adobe cabin resting beside a split fence and a dry well. You walk that way feeling the gravel crunch under your boots like someone chewing secrets. The cabin's plain but cared for. A thin line of smoke rises from its chimney. The porch is swept clean and there's a rocking chair tied down with rope because the wind out here likes to borrow things. But most curious of all is the sign carved into the doorframe. Time isn't sold, it's remembered. You pause, you knock, no answer. So you leave, but you come back, and when you do, there's something new on the porch, a single wide-brimmed cowboy hat, worn, soft, sun-faded, resting right where you stood yesterday. There's dust on the porch, but not on the hat. You reach out to touch it. Still warm. That's when you see her. She's standing at the side of the house facing away from you. Tall, still, her silhouette clean against the setting sun. Her skirt dances in the breeze like a half-remembered melody. She doesn't turn around, doesn't say hello, just lifts one hand slow, deliberate, and places it over her chest. You say her name, except you don't know it, but somehow it escapes your lips like a prayer you forgot you memorized. She doesn't flinch, she just walks back inside. That night, over watered-down stew in the saloon, you ask the bartender, a man with a scar, where his memory should be about her. He just grunts. She's the only one left. Black woman. Never left town, never did. Not even when the storm came. What storm? He points up, the one that ain't finished. You look at the ceiling, it's leaking. The next morning, there's another hat on the porch. This one's smaller. Maybe hers. The town doesn't talk much, but you notice how they don't walk near that house. Kids avoid its fence like it's barbed. The preacher skips it on his prayer walks. So you ask an old man whittling spoons with a knife made of bone, why don't folks talk to her? He doesn't look up, 'cause she don't leave. And people don't like being reminded of what they ran from. You sit with that, like dust in your teeth. Bitter but not wrong. Back at the porch that evening, you see the rocking chair moving slow steady, like someone just stood up from it. But no one's there. The wind isn't strong enough for that. You sit in it. It's warm. A coyote howls somewhere behind the hills, long and lonely, like it lost someone worth howling for. And just as you're drifting into a half-sleep, a voice soft, low, nearly swallowed by the air, says from behind the door, "You're late." But when you turn, there's no one. Not yet. The next morning, the light falls sideways, soft and syrupy. You wake up in the chair. Your back aches like the chair was trying to teach you a lesson, and the smell of firewood dust and something faintly sweet clings to your collar. The cabin door's still closed. There's a jar of water beside you now, glass old enough to have bubbles in it. A sprig of mint floats inside. You didn't bring it. No one saw it placed. You drink it anyway. It tastes like something your grandmother might have given you when you were sick, mint lemon, and maybe just a drop of moonlight. You stand stretch, brush the gravel from your coat. That's when you see it again. A hat on the porch, but this time not just one, two, his and hers. Side by side, lined up neatly, as if waiting for feet that aren't coming. You tell yourself it's just coincidence. You tell yourself this town's just strange. You tell yourself a lot of things actually because talking to yourself is still safer than talking to strangers around here. You walk toward the saloon again, passing the same stray cat sitting on the church roof. It's the third time you've seen it there. You're starting to wonder if it pays rent. Inside the saloon, same three faces, same weak coffee, same music box that only plays two notes before giving up. But today the bartender eyes you different. You went back there, didn't you? He asks. You nod. He snorts. Did she speak? Only said I was late. He rubs his chin like there's something under the skin he's trying to remember. Well, he says that's more than she's said to anyone in 5 years. You glance around. Folks are pretending not to listen. That kind of pretending where they lean in real quiet. What happened, you ask? The bartender shrugs. No one knows the full story, only bits. Like dried beans scattered in the dirt, you can't make stew from pieces. He wipes the counter with a rag that's seen better days. Maybe better decades. All we know is he left, or vanished, or maybe never existed at all depending on who you ask. And she waited. She's still waiting. A man at the corner table snorts, probably waiting for someone who won't come back. The bartender gives him a look, and that makes her braver than you, Pete. The saloon falls quiet again. Outside, you wander thinking. The wind's picking up, carries the smell of pine resin and unfinished stories. You make your way back to the cabin, again. This time, the porch creaks before you step on it. The door is slightly open. You knock anyway. Politeness doesn't cost much out here, just pride maybe. A voice answers. Come on, then. You're here now. Inside, it's small, but everything is in its place. Books on a shelf, boots lined up like they're waiting for parade. A teapot on the stove, warm but not boiling. And there she is. Not aged, not young. Timeless like wind-polished stone. She doesn't smile, but she doesn't frown either. You drink the water, she asks. You nod. Good, I don't waste good mint on strangers. You say nothing. You've learned out here that silence is just as polite as words. She gestures to a chair. You sit. For a while, it's just the sound of the kettle whispering and a clock ticking from somewhere you can't see. I used to make watches, she says. You look up. Not to sell, she continues. Just to remind people what they were wasting. She places a cup in front of you. Tea. Strong. Smoky. Tastes like it remembers the tree it came from. He promised to come back before the last one I made stopped ticking. You swallow. Did he? No. She walks to a drawer, pulls out a small box. Inside, neatly arranged, are dozens of broken pocket watches. Some with cracked faces. Some with no hands at all. One still ticking, faintly but slowing. She closes the lid gently. They say time heals. I think it just forgets. You look at her, then truly look. There's something in her eyes that makes the air shift. She tilts her head. You know what's funny? What? The first hat showed up 3 months after he left. Every week another. Always right here. You think it's him? No, she says, then pauses. But I think someone wants me to think so. She stands, walks toward the window. Outside, the wind picks up again. Dust swirls like dancers with nowhere to go. You planning to stay long, she asks. Don't know. Good. Don't decide just yet. Most folks leave too soon, before they hear the right part. You smile. And what part is that? She turned. You stay. Not because she asks you to. She doesn't. But something about that cabin and the way she said the part that explains the waiting settles into your ribs like a promise. Or maybe a dare. Next morning, you find yourself walking to the edge of town, where the dirt turns red and the sky hangs a little lower. There's a well there, dry, cracked, and leaning just like the stories about it. Supposedly, someone once dropped a wedding ring into it, hoping to erase a memory. The memory stayed. The ring didn't. You're not sure why you're here, but something about the place whispers, look closer. You do. Carved into the stones are initials, some old, some fresh. Names, symbols, a few in languages you don't recognize. One etching stands out. CW plus M 1882. Inside a heart that's half worn away. You run your fingers over it. It's smoother than the others, like someone touched it often. Or recently. Back in town, the preacher's out mending his fence, humming something that sounds like a hymn, but ends in a joke. You ask him if he knows who CW might be. He doesn't answer right away. Just taps a nail in place, twice as soft as needed. Could be Curtis West, he says at last. Black cowboy, tall, quiet, wrote poetry no one asked for. Rode out one day and didn't ride back. Was he with her? He shrugs. They were something. Maybe more than something. Depends who you ask. Some say she was his wife. Others say she was just the reason he smiled. And he just left. Left, disappeared, vanished, drifted. Out here, it's all the same. You walk away with that in your pocket. That evening, she's on the porch whittling a sliver of wood into something that might become a horse or a spoon or just a smaller piece of wood. She doesn't greet you, just nudges a chair with her foot. You sit. I went to the old well, you say. Her hands pause. I saw your initials there, yours and someone else's. She doesn't look up. People used to believe if you carved something into stone, it'd last longer than a promise. You wait. She finishes shaving the wood, then sets it aside. He was a poet, she says, but he hated rhyme, thought it was dishonest, said love shouldn't fit in neat little patterns. She leans back in her chair. Curtis was the kind of man who counted stars for fun. Said if he ever ran out of new things to count, he'd know it was time to settle down. You let the silence stretch. I guess he kept counting, she adds. You hesitate. Did he say goodbye? She snorts. He left me a list of what he wanted for breakfast. You blink. Cornbread. No honey. Strong coffee. One kiss. She smiles just barely. I gave him 2, just in case. A breeze picks up. Smells like ironwood and memory. You shift, unsure what to say next. She stands, goes inside. When she returns, she's holding a dusty saddlebag. She hands it to you. She says, you might want to see what he left behind. You open it slowly, half expecting it to hum or speak. Inside, a pocket watch stopped a worn notebook, a small, smooth stone with her name carved in it. You flip through the notebook. It's full of sketches. Her face, the porch, that chair, over and over again drawn like he was trying to memorize her in pencil. Near the back, a poem. If waiting is prayer, then let this be my chapel. If time is cruel, then let her be my mercy. You look up. He never mailed it, she says. No. She looks out over the hills. Some say the wind out here can carry words farther than any letter. You both fall quiet again. Then she says almost to herself, the thing about waiting is, it's not always about hope. Sometimes it's just the only thing left. And in that moment, under the fading gold of sunset and the steady creak of a porch that never forgets footsteps, you start to understand. She isn't waiting for him. She's waiting for the part of herself he took with him. That night, the wind sings. Not howls, not groans, sings. Long, low, and smooth, like it's sliding over every rooftop just to find the right one to settle on. You lay on the cot she cleared for you in the back room under a patchwork quilt that smells of juniper, lavender, and thyme. From the open window, you see stars that look close enough to steal if you had a tall enough ladder. But you don't sleep, because you hear it again. The chair, that same steady creak. Not frantic, not haunted, just patient. You rise, step barefoot onto the porch. She's not there, but the chair rocks gently like someone just stood up. And in its seat, resting neat and square, is another hat. Same one from the first day. You pick it up, still warm. Inside, a folded note. 2 words. I remember. No name, no signature, but the handwriting doesn't match hers. Morning comes slow and quiet like it's sneaking in without permission. She pours coffee without asking, her hands sure even when her eyes look far off. You set the note on the table. She doesn't touch it, just says it's not the first. How many? 7. You sip the coffee. It's bitter and black, but wakes something behind your eyes. She finally speaks again. The first one showed up 2 years after he left. I thought it was a joke. Maybe someone playing on the town's silence. You ask, you think it's him? She shakes her head. Curtis was many things, but he wasn't vague. If he came back, he'd knock. You both sit there listening to the wind knock instead. Later that day, you wander again. Not far, just enough to find the old rail tracks. Rusted now, broken in parts, but still stubbornly leading somewhere. A coyote walks beside you for a bit, limping. Doesn't bark. Doesn't need to. At the edge of the tracks, a tree grows gnarled, half dead, half alive. Hanging from its branches are trinkets, spoons, nails tied with ribbon, even a cracked pocket mirror. You touch one, a tag is tied to the branch. He asked me to wait. I did. You stare at it longer than you meant to. When you return, she's fixing the hinge on the gate with a screwdriver that's older than you. I think this town's allergic to endings, she says without looking up. I found the tree, you reply. She nods once. That's the memory tree, or at least that's what I call it. Folks hang what they don't want to carry. You think about that. Do you want to let go? She shrugs. Maybe, but I've been holding it so long my hands might forget how. That night, the town holds its breath. No wind, no rocking chair, just crickets practicing for a concert no one will attend. You lie awake, the saddlebag open beside you. You read his notebook again, page after page of sketches. Then, I never left her behind. I just ran out of time to say I stayed. You close the book, something shifts in you. Not understanding, not clarity, just a quiet agreement between the past and your bones. In the middle of the night, you step outside. There, under the same porch lamp that flickers like it's trying to speak Morse code, sits a package. Brown paper, string. You bring it inside. She unwraps it carefully. Inside, a compass, bold, etched with the letters CW2M. So you always find north. She closes her eyes. Just once. Then softly, he made this. Before he left, said it didn't point north, it pointed home. You nod. You both sit there in that cabin that forgets to age, surrounded by dust, that remembers too much and wait not for someone, but for the silence to finish its sentence. The sun. The next morning, the air feels different. Not lighter, not heavier, just aware. Like the land itself knows something's changing, but hasn't decided whether to approve. You step out to fetch kindling and notice fresh tracks near the gate. Not horse, not wagon, boots. One set, leading toward town, and then back. You follow them, boots crunching like peanut shells on old wooden floor. The tracks wander through the tall grass around the edge of the chapel past the barber's, where no one's gotten a haircut in 3 years, and right up to her porch. But she didn't mention them. When you bring it up, she doesn't look surprised, just says some ghosts wear shoes. You spend that day helping her repair the fence around the garden, half vegetables, half wildflowers, all defiant. You ask about the town, and she tells you stories with sideways smiles. Like the time a traveling magician accidentally hypnotized the mayor into thinking he was a chicken, or the time someone tried to outlaw soup for being too wet. You laugh, she does too. But in her laugh, there's always that one missing beat. Later, as twilight settles like dust on everything, she brings out a tin box you hadn't seen before. Inside, letters. Dozens. Most unopened. All addressed to her. Same handwriting as the note in the hat. I found them in the depot, she says. Stacked neat behind the old telegraph machine. No postmark, no stamp. You read a few. One says, I pass through the hills sometimes, just to make sure the wind still smells like you. Another, I sent hats first. They're braver than I am. And another, I haven't come back because I never left you. She closes the box gently like it's holding something alive. You ask, do you believe him? She thinks for a moment, then replies, I believe he wanted me to. The sun dips lower, burning orange through the dusty window panes. You both sit quietly sipping tea that tastes like dry grass and faded memories. I used to think love was like thunder, she says. Loud, obvious, shaking everything. She gestures to the box. Turns out, sometimes it's just a breeze that never stops knocking. The next morning, you visit the old rail station. It's a skeleton of a building bones made of wood and rust. No trains have come through in years, but the bell still hangs there, rope-frayed, bell silent. Inside, you find more letters. And a sketch of her, wearing a necklace shaped like a compass. You bring it back. She smiles full this time, no beat missing. I lost that necklace, she says. I thought maybe he took it. You hand her the drawing. Maybe he gave it back another way. That evening, she lights a lantern on the porch and hangs it on a hook shaped like a bird. She doesn't say anything about it. Neither do you. But you notice the chair is rocking again. No wind, just rocking. And a new note sits beneath it. I'll knock when I'm not afraid anymore. You look at her. She doesn't read it. Doesn't need to. Instead, she pours 2 cups of tea and sets them on the porch railing. Only one of you drinks, and yet both cups are empty by the time the stars arrive. The next day, the porch feels crowded. Not with people, just presence. As if something unseen has finally taken a seat and started listening. You step outside early, expecting the same dust, the same rocking chair, the same cautious air. But instead, there's something else. A pair of boots, old, weather-worn, sitting side by side beneath the window. Not placed, not dropped, settled. She sees them too when she joins you with the coffee. Doesn't speak for a long moment. Then says Curtis never owned boots like that. He always wore moccasins he stitched himself. Said they made him lighter on the earth. You nudge the boots with your toe. Still warm. Inside the right one is a single dog-eared page torn from a book. You read it aloud. Love doesn't vanish. It just gets quiet when no one's listening. Neither of you say a thing after that. You just sit letting the silence stretch until it wraps around your shoulders like an extra blanket. Later, as the sun creeps higher, you follow a trail of strange markers. Stones stacked carefully, tin cans dangling from fence posts, ribbons tied to tumbleweeds. You ask around and an old ranch hand tells you that's the path Curtis used to ride when he left town. Folks say he marked it for her, so she'd know which way to look when she missed him. You follow it. Every mile or so a new marker. A button, a carving, a single glove, all pointed in the same direction southwest. At the last marker, a wooden slat reads simply, "This way if I forget how to turn back." You return to town just as a storm starts grumbling over the distant hills. The clouds roll in like they're dragging chains behind them. You help her bring in the laundry. She hums something under her breath, a tune with no words. As you hang the last blanket on the hook inside, she says, "He was terrified of storms." You look up, not because of the noise, because they were always over too fast. Said love should last longer than thunder. The storm passes quickly, leaving the sky flushed and wrung out. She lights a candle in the window. When you ask why, she simply says, in case someone forgets which porch is theirs. That night a knock comes, soft, unsure. You both freeze. The knock repeats. You open the door, but no one's there. Just a scarf, folded. The same one from the sketch in Curtis's book. Blue with white thread frayed at the corner. She takes it, holds it close, doesn't cry, doesn't smile, just whispers, "Welcome home," then folds it again, places it gently in the saddlebag with everything else. "I used to think waiting was passive," she says, "but it's a kind of work, isn't it?" You nod, hardest kind. She glances outside. "Do you think he's really out there?" "I think part of him never left this porch." And she says, "Then I guess I haven't been alone after all." You both sit in the quiet. The candle flickers like it wants to say something but chooses not to. And for the first time since you arrived, the rocking chair doesn't move. Morning slides in like a whisper through the slats of the shutters. You rise, slow bones creaking in rhythm with the floorboards, and catch her already outside. She's not in the rocking chair, she's by the well turning its old crank, even though everyone knows it's been dry for years. You watch quietly from the porch. She lowers the bucket anyway. You wait for the usual silence. But this time the pulley groans, deep strained, and then clicks. She draws the bucket up, and it's full, water, clear. You step forward, blinking. She smiles soft, not surprised. Some things only fill up again after enough time's passed. You both stare into that bucket like it's holding more than water. Maybe it is. Later in town, people look at her different. Not talking to her exactly, but nodding. Gentle nods. The kind people give graves they respect or sunsets they don't want to interrupt. A boy approaches with a package, wrapped in oilcloth, shy hands. Said to give this to the lady with the compass eyes, he mumbles, then runs off like the wind owes him money. She opens it slowly. Inside, a photo. Old, cracked at the corners, black and white, but still bright. A man in a wide hat, holding a guitar, smiling but only with half his face. Behind him a tree, the memory tree, and carved into its bark. "Found my way." She touches the photo like it's fragile. "It's him," she whispers. You don't ask how she knows. Some answers wear no shoes but walk louder than any question. She hands the photo to you. "He came back. Maybe not all at once, maybe not in the way I imagined, but piece by piece." You look at the back of the photo. There's writing in pencil, faint but sure. "Tell her I still can't rhyme, but I finally found something that makes sense." That night, the porch is different. The rocking chair is still again. Not from loss, from peace. She places the scarf over its armrest, the hat beside it, the compass above the door. Like laying out offerings for someone no longer a ghost. Just a memory that found its feet. She sits beside you, not waiting, just sitting. Stars blink above you like curious eyes. And then she says, "I think I'll sleep inside tonight." You nod. "Want me to keep the candle lit?" She smiles. "No need. I think he sees me now." She steps inside. You stay a little longer, just to make sure the porch remembers. The next day, the wind doesn't rush. It strolls, carries the scent of sun-warmed sage, old wood, and a little something sweet, maybe peach, maybe memory. You sit on the porch alone this morning, listening to the soft rustle of the tall grass and the distant whine of a wagon wheel that's probably older than most of the buildings in town. She joins you later, apron dusted with flour, a kettle in one hand, 2 tin cups in the other. "Figured you earned better than coffee this morning," she says. You sip, cinnamon and apples. Tastes like fall and someone forgiving you. "I used to bake pies every Thursday," she says, leaning back in the rocking chair that finally doesn't creak like it's morning, even after he left. Kept the habit. Folks in town wouldn't eat 'em, though. Why? She grins. Said love tastes like regret. I said they were underbaked. The rocking chair shifts beneath her, not sad, just settling. You ask, why do you think he never came all the way back? She considers. Maybe he thought I'd forgotten him. Maybe he was ashamed of leaving. Or maybe he thought time would do the job for him. You nod. But it didn't. No, she says. It didn't. You both sit sipping spiced tea, watching the sun paint long shadows across the yard. Down the road, someone's hammering a new post into the ground. Could be for a mailbox, could be for a fence, could be just something to make the earth remember hands again. And then she says something soft like, it's not even meant for you. I think waiting wasn't about him coming back. I think it was about me staying whole. You look at her. She's not broken. She never was. She was just open. Do you regret it, you ask? Waiting, she replies, no. Regret tastes worse than silence. You think about that for a while, long enough that your tea gets cold. She pulls out one of the old pocket watches from the saddlebag, same one you saw before, still not ticking. Then she hands it to you. Want it? You hesitate. Feels like it belongs here. She shrugs. Time doesn't. Why should the watch? You turn it over. On the back is a faint engraving, for when the heart beats louder than the clock. That night, she walks to the memory tree with you. She carries a box, a small one. Inside the letters, the scarf, the photo, the compass. She places them at the base one by one. I don't need these anymore, she says. Not because I'm letting go, but because I'm finally carrying them properly. The wind shifts as she says it, soft, reassuring. You help her bury the box. Not deep, just enough. As you pat down the dirt, she says, if he ever comes back, I want him to know I didn't forget. You look up. I think he already does. Back at the cabin, she hangs a sign on the porch. Gone inside, love's already home. And for the first time since you arrived, you hear laughter, hers, deep, clear, and without apology. It doesn't echo. It settles. You wake the next morning to the smell of grits and smoke. Inside, she's humming. Not a sad tune, not that half song she used to sing at night. This one's full-rounded, like it belongs to someone who's lived enough to hum without asking permission. She slides a plate toward you without looking up. Eat before it goes cold. Regret's easier to chew on a full stomach. You do as you're told. The town is quieter today. Not hushed, rested. The kind of quiet that happens after a long storm clears and everything just wants to sit in the sun for a while. Down the road, someone's repainting the old post office sign. A dog sleeps under the bench that no longer sags. Even the church bell, unused for years, gives a little metallic sigh when the wind brushes past it. You wander to the general store, half out of habit, half to see if the old man behind the counter still remembers how to glare. He does. Still here, he grumbles. Still here, you reply. He nods once, like that explains everything. Back at the cabin, she's sitting on the porch, fixing the hem of a curtain. You notice her hands have more strength in them today. Less trembling or purpose. Like waiting all those years, built muscles no one can see. She points her chin toward the rocking chair. You notice it. You look. Still. Calm. Not moving. No more ghosts, she says. You sit beside her. What will you do now, you ask? Live, she says. Loud, probably, just to annoy the silence. You laugh. She doesn't. Then she adds, might teach the children how to mend saddles, or read the weather, or what not to wait for. You sit together as the afternoon stretches its arms across the porch. A hawk circles overhead once, twice, then disappears beyond the ridge. She says, you know what Curtis used to say about time? You shake your head. That it's rude, shows up uninvited and always leaves early. You both chuckle. Then she says something you don't expect. Would you do me a favor? Anything. She hands you an envelope. Sealed, no name, no return address. Take this with you. Drop it at the next crossroads post. No one will know where it's going, but he might. You slide it into your coat pocket. It's light, but it hums with something heavier than paper. Evening sets in. The last clouds burn pink around the edges like they've been soaking in firelight. She lights the porch lantern, not for waiting, just for glow. Then she reaches into her apron and hands you a small carved figurine. It's you, or close enough, holding a watch, standing on the porch. I made it, she says. Figured if you're going to be part of this place, might as well be in wood too. You look at it, then back at her. Why me? She shrugs. Someone had to knock. Might as well be someone who listened when the door didn't open. You stay out there a long while after she's gone inside. Rock a little in the chair. Hold the figurine in your hand. Feel the quiet around you, not empty, not cold. Just finished. Then as you're about to head in, a breeze stirs the edge of the envelope in your pocket. You pat it once like a heartbeat and whisper he'll hear you because you believe that now. Hey. The morning you leave, you don't say goodbye. You just nod at the rocking chair. It doesn't move. Doesn't need to. She's on the porch sweeping dust off the boards like it's an old friend who overstayed its welcome. The sky's wide open, a soft blue that looks like it was painted on yesterday and still isn't dry. You drink one last cup of her cinnamon tea. She doesn't speak. But when you set the cup down, she gently presses a bundle into your hands wrapped in old cloth and tied with twine. For the road, she says, nothing in it will spoil. Just don't open it till you're somewhere quiet. You nod, tuck it into your satchel. She doesn't ask where you're headed. She doesn't need to. You walk past the chapel, the barber shop, the rail station. All of them still alive but different now. Like the town has taken a deep breath after years of holding it in. The wind stirs as you reach the edge of town. Not loud, just enough to push your coat open to remind you there's more ahead than behind. You stop at the crossroads just like she asked. There's no post, no mailbox. Just a flat stone and the kind of silence that listens. You set the envelope down beneath the rock. You don't know who'll find it, but somehow you know it will be found. That night you make camp under a sky so clear, it feels like the stars are trying to whisper your name. You build a small fire, not for warmth, just for rhythm. You finally open the cloth bundle. Inside, a slice of cornbread still soft, a tiny compass carved from wood, and a folded note. You unfold it slowly. It reads, "Love didn't wait, it worked, it built, it forgave, and now it rests." The fire cracks once soft as breath. You lean back against a rock and close your eyes. The wind brushes past like it's tucking you in. Far off, a porch light flickers in someone's memory. And maybe, just maybe, a chair rocks once before settling still. The stars overhead blink slower now. The cold no longer bites. The earth holds you gently like a story that's been told to the end. The dust quiets. The grass sighs. The porch in your mind fades. And she, the only black woman in town who waited so long, finally closes the door, not with sorrow but with peace. Now all is soft. All is dim. All is done. End of script, sweet dreams.